Hi, welcome to Movie Review Mom. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. My goal here is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to watch a specific movie. And the specific movie I'm reviewing today is called 6 Minutes to Midnight. This movie is currently in select theaters and available on video on demand. And if you want to watch it from the comfort and safety of your home, I have a special coupon for you. If you click down below, click on the link and you'll get a free 30-day trial on Amazon Prime in case you're interested in watching it on Amazon. So love that. My goal is to save you time and money, and that's how we're going to start. So the movie is rated PG-13. It's an hour and 39 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm going to give you is actually not until the end of the video to force you to keep watching. So I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, and even some movie recommendations for other movies that are either sort of similar or ones that I just think that you'll like if you like this one. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's summer of 1939 in England, where some influential families in Nazi Germany have sent their daughters to a finishing school in England. This dramatic movie by IFC Films is directed by Andy Goddard, who is most known for his work in the famous, beloved British TV series Downton Abbey. Loved it. I also really liked the movie too. In addition to directing this movie, Andy Goddard also helped write the screenplay with the help of Eddie Izzard and Celine Jones. Eddie Izzard also plays really the protagonist main role of Thomas Miller in the film. I'll tell you a little bit more about him in just a second. So this period film is loosely based on a true story about Augusta Victoria College in England, named after the last Empress of Germany. It opened in 1932 and closed in 1939 after the invasion of Poland by Germany, starting World War II. The title of the movie refers to the infamous doomsday clock, symbolically marking the end of the human race. The doomsday clock was actually created by scientists in 1947, 2 years after the war, warning mankind to treat the planet and each other better. The numbers 1154 stand for 6 minutes to midnight, 11:54, right? And they're used in the telephone code to verify a British spy's credibility, which I actually thought was kind of clever. So what's interesting is, as the world seems to be spinning out of control, scientists have been saying that that doomsday clock is actually ticking faster and faster. So we need to just calm down and treat the planet and each other better so it doesn't spin to midnight faster than we want it to. What is amazing to me is that it's been almost 80 years since World War began, and yet we're still learning new stories about what happened during that time period. And this is one of those examples. And by the way, if you love learning, and this movie definitely appeals to, I think, an older crowd or those who actually value learning about history, check out my online courses at lifelonglearningeducation.com. I always forget to talk about them in my movie reviews, but check those out. And I have a special 80% off coupon off of any of my online courses right now when you use the promo code I love 2021. So spell out the words I love and then the numbers 2021. There are courses for professional development as well as personal enrichment. Okay, commercial over. Now, let me point out some of the things I really liked about the movie. First of all, Dame Judi Dench doesn't seem to have slowed down at all in her movie making. She's in her 90s and she has pumped out several movies just in the last few years alone. She is just perfect in this role as kind of the school marm or the school mistress in charge of all of the students. And she just always has such a great presence on screen, really, in everything that she does. So if you're a Judi Dench fan, you're going to enjoy her performance for sure. Then Academy Award winner Jim Broadbent is also in the movie. He has a small role, but he shines whenever he's on screen. I just always get a kick out of his performances also. And then, as mentioned earlier, Eddie Izzard helped to write the screenplay, and he really stars in this role of a man named Thomas Miller, or I should say, as a man called Thomas Miller. That's how they say it in England. Anyway, he does a lot of running scenes and action scenes in the movie. And I was exhausted and even laughed at the mileage he covered in a short period of time as he was running for his life in some certain scenes that kind of just were kind of crazy. I had heard that this was actually a passion project for him. His family is from Bexhill in England, so he knew of the real Augusta Victoria School, and he wanted to turn that idea into a World War II drama. Rumor has it that the idea for the film came from a patch on the school jacket that had both the British flag and the German flag on it. There hasn't been much marketing or buzz about this movie, sadly, so I think it's really going to fly under the radar for most people. The entire cast of this thriller was really great. They did a great job, and it includes Nigel Lindsay, Carla Jury, and Maria Dragas. There's some beautiful cinematography of Wales, and there are a few little twists. I always love twists. The trailer is really good, and you think, oh, this movie's going to be really great. I've read and heard that some people are disappointed with the actual movie, but again, this just might not be your cup of tea. I think the production designs look and feel authentic. They're very well done, and because of my both British and German ancestry, I was really fascinated with this historic German-English alliance that took place right before World War II. Now, as a young girl, my family never talked about our German heritage. I knew about it because my grandmother was from Germany, although I don't remember her having an accent, which now that I'm an adult, I think, did she intentionally quickly learn the American accent so that people wouldn't think that she came from a long line of Nazis? She came to the United States, I think, when she was about 19 years old. And I found that people who move here when they're younger are able to quickly change their accent or adopt an American accent. But anyway, I just thought that that was really interesting. And that stigma definitely existed when I was a little girl, which was many years after the war. But even now, there's still a little bit of that stigma of Germans and all of the evil that took place in Europe because of some horrible Nazis. But I digress. Let me tell you now about some of the things that I didn't like about the movie. First of all, due to the subject matter, I think that this movie, as I mentioned, will appeal more to older audiences or even audiences in England simply because it takes place in England. The movie itself feels a little uneven in tone and pacing. There isn't very much humor at all. And even though the movie claims to be based on a true story, the real part of the movie is the fact that there was a school like this. However, the events that occur are supposedly pure fiction. So I don't know how you feel about that. If you want pure historical, or if you don't mind a little historical fiction, let me know in your comments down below what you think either of this movie or the idea of this movie. A couple of other things are that some of the scenes actually last too long, while others felt a little bit rushed. So that kind of also has to do with that pacing that I talked about a minute ago. I was really intrigued with this story and I was entertained and kept watching, although I've talked with several people who were completely bored and wanted to turn it off. And I'm always amazed at people that turn off movies. I mean, unless they're really, truly horrible, I keep watching to the bitter end so that I can tell you about the whole movie. Sometimes a movie's able to save itself in act three. I don't know. Anyway, I watched the whole thing, of course. All right, so let me give you some tips for parents. First of all, I think kids are going to be really bored watching this movie. You know, it's an adult talking movie. It also has to do with World War II and Nazis. And while that part sounds interesting, I think that they're just going to be really bored with this. So this isn't really a family-friendly movie in that regard. German is spoken quite a bit in Act 3 with English subtitles. So there's even some reading. If your kids were really young, they wouldn't know what was being said. Young children definitely won't understand the significance of German Nazi daughters in England right before World War II and what it meant to the national security of Great Britain. There is some violence, some shooting, some weapons. And although the movie isn't necessarily about politics, the war or the upcoming war is definitely a large part of the story. Now, along with the story, let me point out some themes that the movie illustrated fairly well, I think. First of all, respect in differences. As these Nazi daughters came to England, they were there to learn the English culture. And then those who were working at the school certainly had to respect the German culture. Trust, appearances, truth, and lies are other themes, as well as loyalties to people and countries, education, persuasion, identity, and courage. So whenever I watch movies, I always write down really funny lines and interesting lines so that I can share them with you. But when I looked back at my notes, I hadn't written any funny lines. As I mentioned, the movie's not really funny, and there just aren't really any humorous moments even. But there are a couple of interesting lines I'll share with you right now. So one of the lines is spoken by Dame Judi Dench, and she's telling this new school teacher, England can be an unforgiving place if you happen to be German. I thought that was interesting because, of course, World War I had occurred and there were still very bad feelings about Germany after World War I. And it didn't take that long to spin out of control and start World War II. All right, so for those reasons and probably others that I forgot to talk about, the overall movie review mom grade I'm giving this movie is a B. I actually enjoyed it, but I'm giving you the heads up. This isn't everyone's British cup of tea. Now, before we go, let me give you some film recommendations for some other movies that I think you might enjoy. They're all very different, but they all take place during Nazi Germany. The first one is a movie called Resistance. The second one is called Allied. And the third one is called The Book Thief. And I really enjoyed all of those, actually. What I really liked about The Book Thief is that the movie was from a young girl's perspective, but it gave the German perspective on how Germans felt about the war. I often wondered, how could the German people have let that happen during the Holocaust, killing millions of Jews and other people? And some of the Germans didn't really fully understand what was happening. And those that did were afraid for their families' lives and made decisions based on protecting their loved ones. And anyway, it offered a really unique insight because I'd often wondered how you could let injustice and horrific things happen on your own soil. All right, that's it for my movie review. Be sure and join my Facebook group called Movie Review Mom, because I often have contests and fun things going on over there that I always forget to talk about when I'm doing my movie reviews. So if you're a part of the group, you'll see all of that stuff the minute I post it. And thank you for supporting me on Patreon. the easiest way to support my growing channel is to simply subscribe and watch my videos, like them, and be sure and click on that little bell, and it'll notify you every time I upload a new movie review or movie trailer. All right, I hope if you watch this movie, you enjoy it, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye for now.